Hola, hola. It's Wednesday, I think. I don't know. Anybody else feel like that this week? But anyway, I wanted to get on live. Hopefully some of y'all can watch this. So the paradox of exercise with thyroid dysfunction and then adrenal fatigue, or some people might say HPA axis issues. The HPA axis is your hypothalamus in your brain, the pituitary gland, and then your adrenal glands, which are down on top of your kidneys. And so chronic fatigue, chronic exhaustion can be both thyroid issues and adrenal gland issues. And again, if you watch and listen or read any of my stuff, you know that these are complex things that can be from many, many issues, right? So there's not one answer. Everyone's so individual that we need to take a deep dive into that. Now today, if you read my post or saw some of my stories, I posted on kind of this, what I call the paradox of exercise, because here's the deal. This might surprise some of you, but for those of you who have maybe known or suspicious of thyroid issues, right? Or you have chronic fatigue, so there's probably some adrenal gland, some nervous system dysregulation going on. More exercise is not necessarily better. The type of exercise is critical and important. So in fact, intense exercise, like so many of us love to do, I love to do it. I love an intense workout, a high intensity interval training, HIIT workout, a CrossFit workout, which I've been doing those for, 15 years now, longer than that. That can make you feel worse, especially if you have some of these issues going on. And it might not only make you feel worse, it might be feeding into these vicious cycles of what you have going on in your body, specifically with the thyroid, the adrenal glands, etc. So let me explain some of this a little bit. So when you exercise intensely, maybe it's a boot camp class, a CrossFit class, high intensity interval training, whatever, your body releases cortisol, right? That's normal, that's natural. Cortisol is one of your primary stress hormones, and it comes from the adrenal glands, right? So in this stress response for a quote unquote healthy or normal person, right? Someone who doesn't have like the thyroid issues, the HPA axis, adrenal issues, that's fine, because your body's gonna metabolize it quickly. It's gonna dampen it. It's gonna get rid of it. It's gonna fall relatively quickly after you work out, and your body will recover stronger. And that exercise has done you a lot of good. But when your thyroid gland, or I got puppies in the background playing, but when your HPA axis and your thyroid gland is dysfunctional, things are already dysregulated. Adding more cortisol to the system through the intense exercise that you might be doing is like pouring gasoline on a fire, right? It's just your body's already overwhelmed. It's already pumping out too much cortisol, which again, this is a whole nother topic, but what does cortisol do? Well, if you don't know what cortisol does, one of the things it does in your body, other than it's the sympathetic fight flight type hormone, it also releases stored sugar, from your liver, from your muscles. It's called glycogen, but it tells your brain that your body needs this energy, so it releases sugar into your blood. So that's going to heighten your blood sugar, right? That's going to heighten your insulin response. And if we don't think that stress and cortisol, and even now, that even working out intensely too often under these conditions can spike and crash your blood sugar, guess what? That's inflammatory. That's leading to all sorts of chronic low-grade inflammation in your body. If you think that's not contributing to some of the other issues in your health, then you got some learning to do here. What was I going to say? So I was also going to say, I guess, insulin resistance. Insulin resistance, my goodness, talk about a huge subject. All these metabolic issues that most of you have at least heard of. Insulin resistance is at the top, right? It's so common so many people are walking around with some form of insulin resistance. I have no idea. And what does that lead to? Well, females, ladies, if you have daughters, maybe who are struggling with things like PCOS, right? Infertility issues, it's almost always linked to some sort of blood sugar dysregulation, insulin resistance, cortisol management. This is the kind of stuff that we're not being talked about too, like from our physicians. They're not looking at these root causes. So anyway, that's a tangent. But back to kind of the point today. Some people with adrenal fatigue are obviously reporting to me all the time, like feeling worse after workouts, needing like days and days to recover, extra soreness, all these things that maybe something used to be easy. They used to be able to do these classes or whatever, and now they're just feeling like they crash and they can't recover like they used to. So here's some signs that you're overdoing. And I have this, go to my story, go to my post, because these are listed out. But basically signs you're overdoing it is feeling exhausted rather than energized after you exercise, You need more than 24 hours to recover from a workout. That's not normal. Increase in your fatigue, brain fog, or mood issues in the days that are following exercise, or maybe the day that you do exercise, your brain fog, your mood changes, all these kind of things. Maybe you have disrupted sleep after exercise. Maybe you get sick more frequently. Your immune system just seems to be kind of like hit when you're exercising too much, and then also feeling wired but tired after you're working out. None of these things are normal, y'all. You shouldn't be experiencing these things, and if you are, you need to look deeper into it. So a few more details of kind of what's going on here. So like with hypothyroidism specifically, you have reduced energy production in every cell of your body. So that's kind of logical, where that's going to mean slower recovery. It's going to mean decreased exercise tolerance. So you're not just able to do the things that you used to do. It's potentially going to make exercise feel harder than it should. Like, maybe there's days, I have days where I'm working out and I'm like, oh man, I just feel a little more tired. I don't feel like I have it today. That can be normal every once in a while. But usually it means I haven't gotten good sleep maybe the night before, things like that. But with hypothyroidism, these are like everyday experiences for people. Slower recovery, less energy production. It's obviously going to zap your energy stores. Okay, so then we talk about HPA axis issues. So this is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So just think adrenal glands. People have probably heard of like adrenal fatigue, those kind of things. So your cortisol rhythm, cortisol and how it's released into your body, which is cortisol is your main stress hormone. That rhythm is disrupted. So intense exercise raises cortisol further, like I said earlier, and that can actually lead to a worsened fatigue, worsened exhaustion, worsened sleep disruption, and slower healing. Right? Your body cannot be in fight, flight, freeze mode, which is the sympathetic part of your nervous system. It can't be in fight or flight, and also at the same time be in parasympathetic, which is rest, digest, grow, heal, recover. You cannot do that at the same time. Does that make sense? I mean, this is just kind of logical. So if you are stressed out, if you're always on the go, if you're always busy, you're fight, flight. Right? So are you going to the gym and hitting it hard every day? And especially if you know you have hypothyroidism, especially if you know you have adrenal gland issues or chronic exhaustion and chronic fatigue, if you're hitting the gym with all good intentions, like great for you, but you need specific programming to meet you where you're at, where your body needs to be, right? And this is one of the things that I help people with every single day. So speaking of like chronic fatigue, a lot of people who have chronic fatigue and exhaustion have brain fog. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm foggy, whatever that means for you. Like, your memory's kind of like not like it used to be. You can't remember things, some short-term memory issues. You just can't think clearly, concentration issues, focus issues. Is it ADHD? I mean, maybe, where does ADHD come from? Right? So always think why. Why is this happening? What's the root causes? Because even ADHD, man, there's so many people that you can turn around ADHD if you actually get to the root causes of what's going on. So that's a whole nother subject for another day. But basically with chronic fatigue, with brain fog, high intensity exercise basically is going to exhaust the already heavily depleted energy stores or reserves that you have in your body. Instead of building them up, like healthy exercise or exercise that fits you where you're at, like that's going to help build energy, produce energy in a lot of ways. Whereas if you're struggling with some of these health things and you're hitting the gym, you could be doing more harm than good, completely. So here's the sad reality, and I know a lot of y'all have experienced this. So you go to your doctor, maybe it's a primary care, maybe a specialist. Number one, do they even talk to you about nutrition and exercise? Because if they don't, if they don't, I'm not saying they're a bad person, but they definitely don't know what you need to be taught and educated on. Because lifestyle medicine, nutrition, and exercise are like pivotal, critical things. So if your physicians aren't talking to you about this, that's red flag number one. But even when I have patients who say, yeah, my doctor said, you need to eat better, you need to exercise more. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean? What did they coach you on? What did they guide you on? And it's usually, that's it. Like they just told me I need to watch my diet. I need to eat less processed. I need to eat less sugar, eat better food, and then exercise. And there's not detail. See, here's the deal. These are all very nuanced, complicated things. Okay, number one, eat whole food. That's going to do you some good. Exercise a little bit. listen to your body. If you don't ever work with me, at least start there, okay? But if you've listened to me in the past, you know how when I say nuanced and complex, it's because not everybody needs to eat the same way. Genetics, okay? Hormonal issues, the thyroid. Like, for an example, if you have a thyroid issue, hypothyroidism, for example, are you eating cruciferous vegetables like raw? Are you eating raw vegetables? Are you baking vegetables? That could be contributing to a vicious cycle of the hypothyroidism, actually, even healthy foods, okay? Boiling and steaming vegetables is the best way to go about it. So that's one example. And then you throw into, the genetic predispositions, how your body handles different foods. Are you histamine intolerant? Are you gluten and dairy sensitive, kind of the more well-known things? Do you have bacterial overgrowths where, if you've ever heard of low FODMAP and high FODMAP foods, like this is where we have to dive in and really figure out what you need. You can't just eat better, most people, and expect things to turn around. And if you've ever been told, calories in, calories out, if you're struggling to lose weight is another huge issue I deal with every day. And if calories in, calories out works for some people, but it doesn't work for 90%. And the reason is because you can eat less calories and even in whole food and still gain weight or still just plateau. Think about this, the thyroid, the HPA axis, all of these vicious cycles that go on, right? Cortisol, dumping sugar into your blood because you're always in fight or flight mode. Where does that sugar go? That's released by cortisol. Guess what? Fat cells, right? So these are the reasons why calories in, calories out doesn't always work for people, okay? It's way more complicated than that. So you need an individualized plan for you with nutrition and then also for exercise. Like I said, that's kind of what this was all about today is, starting people where they need to start to heal their body from the inside out first and then gradually getting to where they would love to be. So if my goal is to, do HIIT classes and CrossFit workouts and all of these things, I love how that makes me feel. I'm speaking about myself, but if I'm in a place right now where I'm chronically exhausted and my thyroid's not working properly and I have gut issues and all these things, I'm only going to feed into the vicious cycle of what's going on in my health. Okay. I'm going to go down that pathway to not getting things resolved. Okay. So I hope that hit with somebody. I hope that landed with somebody today. And if you have questions, of course, that's why I'm here. So go ahead and DM me. Email me, visit my website, drscottfm.com. So drscottfm.com. And on my website, there's a lot more information. You can actually see some of the lab work, some examples of some of the lab work that we do on people every day to get down to the bottom of this stuff, y'all. Because like I said, it's just the sad reality this day and age in our traditional systems where the causes and the roots of what's going on in your health often are either ignored or not looked at deeply enough. And that comes with listening, with hearing, with spending time diving into what you have going on. And then that's what someone like me does for people is just really, really gets to the bottom of things and then writes nutrition plans, writes exercise programs specifically for you. No protocols, not Jane gets the same as Mary, Steve gets the same as Joe. It just doesn't work that way, people. So throw me a DM, throw me an email. If you want to chat some more, you can find consult call links all over my pages, all over my website. If you'd like to set up a time to chat with me one-on-one over a Zoom call. So everybody, hopefully somebody got something out of that and have a great rest of your Wednesday. Facebook Lives, we'll see how these go. I mean, I'm just kind of started getting into them, kind of fun. So if you like them, give me a like, give me a share, give me a heart, send me a message, something like that. And if you have topics you'd want me to cover, I'm always open to that too. So everybody have a great day. Bye.